everybody, Marty Richards with Greater Richland Tourism here today, and we are bringing back one of the very first original Why Do We Call It That's for you, and really it's a 2-for-1. So today we learn why do we call it the town of Westford, and why do we call it Bunker Hill. So number one, the town of Westford, northwest corner of Richland County, very well known because Lee Lake is in Westford Township. And there's a lot of fun to be had and a lot of sport recreation to be had at Lee Lake. Town of Westford was founded early in the 1880s as the founding of Richland County was happening. And really the name came from Westford, New York. Now, the people that came first and settled in the area, and where that namesake came from, Ada and Levi Lincoln. They were some of the first settlers that came here from Westford, New York, moved here, renamed Westford Township here in Richland County, and they were early storekeepers and helped with provisions and different supplies for those settlers that first came. Now, the real story here is about Bunker Hill, of course. Now, Bunker Hill was originally, it was not called Bunker Hill originally, it was originally called Plainview for the first few years when it was first platted in the 1880s. Now, I always thought that everybody that was in Cazenovia or Westford Township were all Germans, right? That is not correct at all. There is actually quite a large settlement in the early 1880s into the 1900s that were Irish. And even behind us, behind my cameraman, is a road called St. Bridget's Road and then an Irish cemetery. And so that was very common as well. Now, Bunker Hill got its name change in the 1920s when the post office became involved. And during that time, from the early 1900 to 1920s, the area thrived. Actually, Bunker Hill, the village itself, had a cheese factory run by the Rigo family. There were other different stores, a tavern, of course, which still exists today. And right behind me, the town garage exists as well. Now, the greatest story or the legend about Bunker Hill is that, and you might remember, this does have some basis in fact, because they used to have dances here at the tavern back in the early 1900s. And you might remember when we did Fiddler's Green, that, why do we call it that? It relates to this area as well. But there was a fiddler in a band, and they were playing at a dance here at Bunker Hill. And the legend goes that a fracas, a little bit of a shoving fighting match kind of broke out. And the fiddler was not a fighter at all. He decided to, self-preservation kicked in, he decided to take care of himself, took off running, and the legend goes that he didn't stop running until he got to Ironton, which is basically 2 villages over, and that when they found him there, he still had with him the window frame that he had jumped out the window frame stuck, and he just kept running. I'm kind of questioning the validity of that legend, but it makes for one heck of a story. So Bunker Hill here on the northwest corner of Richland County in Westford Township. How did it get its name? Well, the early settlers did come from New York and Massachusetts area. And of course, we're all familiar with Bunker Hill in Massachusetts. And the story goes, and I've seen this myself, the terrain and kind of the look of the area is very reminiscent of Bunker Hill in Massachusetts. And that was pretty common in that day when they came and settled the area, that they did kind of bring names along that came from their original area, and that's how Bunker Hill got its name. So we hope that when you come visit the area, it's a little warmer than it is today. Kudos to my cameraman who's braving some pretty cold temperatures, but that shows my wisdom in scheduling video on a day that is the coldest day of the year. So, but here we are. There is no bad weather here in the greater Richland area, just bad clothing. So that is why we call it Bunker Hill, and that's why we call it Westford. We hope you enjoyed that. We encourage you to go check all of our videos out on YouTube at the Greater Richland Area Tourism channel for Greater Richland Tourism. I'm Marty Richards. Let's everybody have a great day.